I was just eating some dumplings and asked the owner if she could throw in a few extra green onions. But instead, she totally blew up at me, dragging my whole family into it over some stupid green onions. What do you mean, add more green onions? Look at you. You look like a damn green onion yourself. You think green onions are free? If that's not enough for you, then don't eat here. There's the door. As her words echoed, every single person in the shop whipped their heads around to stare at me. Their eyes were filled with all kinds of judgment and pity. I didn't say a single word. I just silently finished my dumplings, stood up, and walked out. The very next day, I sent out a message in our company group chat. Hey everyone, team lunch today. We're going to that new dumpling place right across the street. It's on me, all 300 of us. A massive crowd of my colleagues followed me across the street. The lady boss was standing right outside her own shop door, staring at her completely empty restaurant. Her face turned pale as a ghost in an instant. That old place was called Lin's Dumplings. The owner's last name was Lin, and we all used to call her Sister Lin. My name is Zhang Kunming. I work at Hengshan Digital, located right in this office building. I'm the administrative director here. Ever since my very first day on the job, I practically had all my lunches at her place. For 3 years, over 1,000 days, even if I didn't go every single day, I must have eaten at Lin's at least 700 or 800 times. To me, Lin's Dumplings felt just like our own company cafeteria. It was comfortable, convenient, nothing mind-blowing, but it was a solid part of my daily routine. Truth be told, Sister Lin always had a pretty nasty temper. She was loud, impatient, and she always walked around with a face that practically screamed, "Don't bother me." For instance, if you took too long to order, she'd impatiently tap on the table and rush you. And if you dared to ask when the dumplings would be ready, she'd snap, "What do you care when they're ready? Stop rushing me. Aren't they cooking in the pot right now?" My coworkers would grumble about her once in a while, but we're all adults. Just to get a hot meal, no one was actually going to make a fuss. Besides, the dumplings at Lin's were actually pretty decent, and the prices were fair. Over time, everyone just got used to Sister Lin and her notorious temper. Some people even thought it was just part of the charm of a cozy, down-to-earth local diner. I felt the same way, of course. Being the admin manager, I actually sent plenty of business her way. Whenever the company needed overtime meals, I always ordered dumplings from Lin's. And when we wanted an easy department dinner, I'd just grab takeout from there too. Sister Lin was always a bit nicer to me than she was to the regular customers. Though nice just meant she didn't rush me when I was ordering. Still, I always thought that the two of us had moved way past a simple customer-owner relationship. We had that warm, friendly bond you only get with a familiar neighbor. Until one day at 12:30 in the afternoon, right in the middle of the lunch rush, I walked into Lin's Dumplings like I always did. The place was absolutely packed and buzzing with chatter, filled with rising steam, and that cozy, lively energy. "Sister Lin, one order of pork and scallion, and a side of smashed cucumber," I called out, knowing the drill by heart. Behind the cash register, Sister Lin gave a quick grunt without even looking up. I found a spot in the corner and sat down. 10 minutes later, my dumplings were served. Plump, white dumplings lay on the plate, still piping hot and steaming. I picked one up with my chopsticks, dipped it in vinegar and chili oil, and popped it in my mouth. The wrapper was as perfectly chewy as always, and the filling was nice and juicy. But somehow, I felt like something was missing. I took another slow bite and realized that the rich, green onion aroma was completely missing. Usually, when the pork and green onions blend together, they release this incredible, unique fragrance as they boil. But there was absolutely none of it here. I pulled one of the dumplings apart, only to find just a few tiny, sporadic specks of green inside. They were clearly cutting corners, and I couldn't help but frown. Pork and green onion dumplings, without that distinct aroma, they just have no soul. Now, I've never been a picky eater, but after eating here for 3 whole years, I developed a real standard for my neighbor's dumplings. I picked up my plate and walked over to the checkout counter, trying my best to keep my voice calm and polite. Sister Lin was looking down, busy calculating the books. She looked up with an annoyed frown. "Yeah? What is it? Are today's dumplings a little light on the green onions?" I pointed to my plate. "Do you think you could add a bit more? Or maybe just throw in a little extra next time you make them?" In my head, I thought, this was just some simple, harmless feedback from a loyal regular. I'd even prepared myself if she told me they ran short on green onions today, or that the prices had gone up, I would just laugh it off and let it go. But Sister Lin's reaction was something I never could have expected. She froze for a second, and then, like a cat getting its tail stepped on, she instantly blew a fuse, screaming at the top of her lungs. Her eyes, usually dull from years of working in a greasy kitchen, suddenly flared up. They glared at me, sharp as knives. Her shrill, piercing voice instantly cut through all the noise in the shop. "You think green onions are free? They used to be $1 for 3 stalks, and now they're $5 a pound. Do you have any idea how little I make selling you these dumplings at $15 a plate? How much profit do you think I even get from that? And you expect me to just pile them on for you? If it's not enough for you, then don't eat here. The door is right there. Nobody's stopping you." She pointed at the door, practically screaming it at me. The entire dumpling shop instantly fell, dead silent. So quiet, you could hear a pin drop. Every single customer eating or waiting for their food turned their eyes to look straight at me. Some with shock, some with pity, and some with sheer amusement at my expense. There were even colleagues from my own company. My face burned hot instantly. Not out of shame, though, but from pure, unadulterated rage. I stood there holding that plate of dumplings, like a criminal being publicly executed. I felt a mix of blinding rage and cold despair. All I did was ask for a little more green onion. "I'm a loyal customer who has eaten your dumplings for 3 years. I'm Zhang Kunming, the guy who brought you hundreds of orders from my company. Am I really that worthless to you? Do I not even have the right to ask for a little extra green onion?" Looking at Sister Lin's face, twisted with rage, and the blatant scorn and contempt in her eyes. At that very moment, the neighborly goodwill I'd built up over 3 years shattered completely, shattered like a total joke. I didn't argue with her. I didn't act like she did, screaming at the top of my lungs to defend my dignity. I just stared at her in silence, burning her expression, her eyes, and every single word she said deep into my memory. Then, I turned around, carrying that plate of dumplings with only one eaten, and walked back to my seat. Under the watchful eyes of everyone in the shop, I picked up my chopsticks and ate every last dumpling, one by one. I ate incredibly slowly. Every bite felt like I was chewing on the last 3 years of my life. And this sudden, humiliating blow. When I was done, I grabbed a tissue, wiped my mouth, stood up, and walked over to the cash register. Sister Lin probably didn't expect it. She didn't expect me to react this way. She stared at me, a brief flash of shock crossing her eyes, but it was quickly replaced by sheer disdain. It was as if she was saying, "In the end, you're still going to sit down and eat every last bite." I pulled 20 yuan out of my wallet and set it on the counter. 15 for the pork and scallion dumplings, and 5 for the smashed cucumber salad. Exactly 20. My voice was terrifyingly calm. Honestly, it even surprised me. Sister Lin reached out to grab the money, but a split second before her fingers touched the cash, I spoke up, slowly. Sister Lin froze in her tracks. She looked up at me. I looked her dead in the eye, and said, clearly, word by word, "This will be the last time I ever eat here. Thank you for looking after me these past 3 years." With that, I didn't wait for my change, or for any kind of response from her. I just turned around, pushed the door open, and walked out. The afternoon sun was a bit blinding, standing right outside Lin's dumplings. I took a deep, long breath, and walked away without looking back. When I got back to the office, a few colleagues from other departments in the elevator were staring at me. Their expressions were complicated. They must have been at the dumpling shop too. "Are you okay, Brother Zhang?" an intern asked in a low voice. I forced a smile and shook my head. "I'm fine. Honestly, that owner went way too far. I mean, all you wanted was some extra green onions. Did she really have to yell at you in front of everyone like that?" "Exactly. We're never eating there again either," another colleague chimed in. I just smiled and didn't say another word. The elevator dinged at the 16th floor, where the administration department is. I stepped out, walked back to my desk, and opened my laptop to check my emails, approving documents. Everything was business as usual. It was as if that whole scene from lunch was nothing but a fleeting dream. But deep down, my heart felt like a restless ocean, calm and still on the surface, but underneath, the currents were raging. Sister Lin's sneering, cruel face, and her harsh bark, "If you think it's too little, don't eat it. The door is right there." They were like a sharp thorn buried deep inside my heart. Who she insulted wasn't just some customer asking for a little extra green onion. It was a loyal regular who had given her 3 years of trust and support, only to be tossed aside like trash. What she trampled on was the most basic human respect. I closed my eyes, and those dozens of judgmental stares in the dumpling shop flashed clearly in my mind once again. I've never been someone to sweat the small stuff, nor am I impulsive. Having fought my way through the corporate world for so many years, I learned long ago how to keep my emotions in check. Keeping a poker face is just basic maturity for an adult. But deep down, I knew. Just because I didn't lash out, didn't mean I wasn't angry. I can't just let this go. If I take this lying down today, there will be even more regulars tomorrow, getting publicly humiliated by Sister Lin over the most ridiculous, petty reasons. And the bystanders will do nothing but watch. I have to do something, but definitely not get into a shouting match with her. That's too cheap. It would only drag me down to her level. No, I'm going to do things my way. I'll teach her a lesson. In this world, the absolute last people you should ever cross are those who silently support you. I opened my eyes, my mind sharp and clear. I opened the company's internal messaging app, went to the admin department group chat, and tagged at everyone, "Could you please help me put together a quick count? The total number of active employees at our company right now." I asked for the exact head count, and less than 1 minute after sending the message, the HR specialist sent over a spreadsheet. I opened it up. It was the active employee directory for Henshin Digital Headquarters. A grand total of 316 people, subtracting those who are on business trips or took the day off today. The number of people who regularly have lunch at the office every day is around 300. Staring at that number, 300, a slight smile crept onto my face. Next, I opened the company's list of partner catering vendors. It was packed to the brim, listing dozens of restaurant names, along with their contact details and negotiated rates. This list is one of my proudest achievements from my years of hard work here. But as I scanned through it, nothing really fit the bill. They were either cheap fast food or overpriced sit-down meals, neither of which was ideal for a daily lunch option. I turned my gaze out the window. Looking down from the 16th floor, I could see everything on the other side of the street crystal clear. Right across from Lin's Dumplings, a new shop was undergoing renovations. Its bright red sign was already up, boldly displaying 4 words, Huang's Dumpling House. The decor looked bright, clean, and very hygienic. I grabbed my phone and dialed the property management office. As the admin manager, I deal with them more than anyone else. "Good afternoon, Manager Lee. This is Zhang Kunming from Henshin Digital." "Ah, Manager Zhang. Hello, hello. What can I do for you?" "Actually, I wanted to ask you about something. Right across from Lin's Dumplings downstairs from our office, there's a new place called Huang's Dumpling House. Do you happen to have the owner's contact info?" "Oh, you mean Young Huang?" Yes, I do. I'll send it over to you right away." "So, Manager Zhang, is your company looking to bring on another new lunch vendor?" "That kid Xiao Huang is a really good guy, and his cooking is the real deal. Let me look into it first," I said with a smile. Less than 30 seconds after hanging up, a text message popped up. It was a phone number, saved under the contact name, Boss Huang, Huang's Dumplings. I stared at the number but didn't call right away. Instead, I quickly mapped out a plan in my head. This wasn't just some simple revenge. It was a surgical, business-level strike. I was going to make Big Sister Lin realize that she wasn't just losing a loyal customer, she was losing the business of the entire office building that kept her afloat. I wanted her to watch with her own eyes, as the very customer she once looked down on handed all of her business right over to her competitor across the street. I was going to make her pay the ultimate price for her arrogance and disrespect. I saw this silent showdown as a quiet war. No smoke, no shouting, just shifting crowds and cold, hard data. I stood up, walked over to the break room, and poured myself a cup of coffee. As the bitter liquid slid down my throat, my mind became razor sharp. Back at my desk, I picked up my phone and sent a text to Boss Wang. "Hello, Boss Wang. I'm the admin manager at Henshin Digital across the street. My name is Zhang, and I have a major business deal regarding lunch catering for 300 people that I'd like to discuss with you. Let me know if you're free to talk." I tapped send. My heart was completely calm. The war had already quietly begun. A second later, my phone chimed. It was Boss Wang's reply. Just one word. "Sure." Right after that, my phone started ringing. He sounded quite young, with a trace of excitement he couldn't hide. "Hello? Is this Manager Zhang? Hey there, it's Boss Huang." "Hello. I just saw your text message. You mentioned some big business, but said it wasn't convenient to talk about over the phone. Are you at the shop right now? I can head over to meet you." I quickly replied, Yes, I'm here. I've been busy working at the shop all day. You're welcome to drop by any time." "Great, I'll be there in 10 minutes. After hanging up the phone, I gave my colleagues in the department a quick heads up, grabbed my laptop, and headed downstairs. Instead of going straight to Huangji across the street, I stopped and stood outside Lingji Dumplings for a moment. It was 2 in the afternoon, well past the lunch rush. Only a handful of customers were scattered inside the shop. Sister Lin was slouched in a chair behind the register, picking her teeth while scrolling through her phone. There wasn't a single trace on her face, despite of the clash that had happened earlier at noon. Maybe to someone like her, something like that was no big deal at all. I scoffed inwardly, turned around, and walked across the street. Huangji Dumplings wasn't a very large shop, but the windows were sparkling clean, and the tables and chairs were of fresh, light natural wood. A few clean, elegant decorative paintings hung on the walls. A young man of about 27 or 28 years old was directing some workers to install an exhaust system. As soon as he saw me walk in, he quickly hurried over to greet me. "You must be Supervisor Zhang, right?" He rubbed his hands together, looking a bit nervous. I nodded. "Boss Huang, I presume? Please, just call me Huang Yang." "Supervisor Zhang, please, have a seat." He ushered me over to a table by the window and personally poured me a glass of water. Please, have some water, Supervisor Zhang. We haven't officially opened yet, so please excuse the mess. I sized him up. He seemed like a really sharp, energetic young man. His eyes were clear, and his attitude was incredibly humble. He had a calm composure that was rare for someone his age. Not bad, Boss Huang, I said. When are you planning to open for business? I decided to get straight to the point. The day after tomorrow. Almost everything is ready to go, Huang Yang replied. For dumplings, I've prepared a few options, like pork and scallion, pork and cabbage, a classic 3 delicacy, and a vegetarian 3 delicacy. I'll start with these 4 classic ones. As for the pricing, it's pretty much the same as the place across the street, but actually 1 yuan cheaper. I figured since I'm just starting out, I should use lower prices to draw people in. Hearing this, I shook my head. Boss Huang, competing on low prices is the absolute worst way to do business. Huang Yang froze. Then what should I do? The place across the street has been open for years. If I don't make my food cheaper, why would anyone ever choose to come here? He looked completely lost. I gave a small smile, opened my laptop, and turned the screen toward him. What if I told you that starting the day after tomorrow, I can make your daily lunchtime revenue at least 4,000 yuan? Would you believe me? Huang Yang's eyes instantly widened. 4,000 yuan? In a tiny shop like this? Even if it was completely packed, and tables turned over 2 or 3 times over lunch, the absolute maximum would be 2,000 to 3,000. Supervisor Zhang, you're not joking with me, are you? Do I look like I'm joking? I pointed to the employee roster on my laptop screen to show him. Our company, Hengshan Digital, is right across the street. Right now, we have 316 active employees. Every single day, at least 300 of them need to find a place for lunch. Before this, most of them ended up going to that old shop across the street. But now, I'm giving you a golden opportunity. An opportunity to turn all 300 of those people into your loyal customers. I stared directly at Huang Yang, his breathing already growing heavy. He wasn't. Even an idiot would know what that meant. It meant he was skipping the hardest part of starting a business, building a customer base from scratch. He was jumping straight to having the most stable and massive loyal customer base imaginable. For a brand new little shop like his, this was like winning the lottery. Why me? He finally managed to find his voice and asked the most crucial question. Because that Sister Lin across the street threw a massive fit over a tiny bit of green onion at lunch and chewed me out right in front of dozens of people. My voice was perfectly calm, as if I were talking about a minor issue that didn't even concern me. But the words struck a chord in Huang Yang, and he looked at me with a newfound sense of respect. He realized this wasn't just some lucky break. This was an alliance. Manager Zhang, just tell me. What do you need me to do? His tone had become dead serious. This was exactly the reaction I wanted. A partner who was both smart and grateful. First, quality, I said, holding up one finger. I need you to guarantee that all of your dumplings are made with only the freshest ingredients. The best pork, the cleanest vegetables, real green onions, real ginger. Absolutely no cutting corners. This is the absolute bare minimum and the most important part. My people are extremely picky eaters. Huang Yang nodded vigorously. Don't worry. I started out as a chef myself. In the food industry, quality ingredients are everything. I give you my word on that. Second, price, I said, holding up a second finger. I'm not asking you to lower your prices. In fact, I need you to match the prices across the street. You can even charge a little bit more. But first, you need to offer an exclusive, set meal for all of my employees. For example, a serving of dumplings with a side dish, or a drink. Keep the total price under 20 yuan. There must be a variety of options, and they need to be updated every week. I want my colleagues to feel that eating here is an absolute steal and highly respectable. Third, about service. I don't care how busy you get, you and your staff must always have a smile on your faces. Any reasonable request from a customer must be met immediately. Little things, like adding extra green onions or a splash of vinegar, must never be overlooked. But most importantly, efficiency. We have 300 people and only a 1.5-hour lunch break. I can't have them all lining up at your shop. So, we need to set up an efficient pre-ordering and packaging system. Starting the day after tomorrow, at 10 in the morning every day, I'll start a lunch sign-up list in our company chat. Once I compile the quantities and choices, I'll send them to you before 11. By 12, you must deliver all the packed lunches on time, right to the lobby of our office building. And if anyone decides to eat at the shop, they should be served instantly. This will go on for a whole month. During this month, I will be covering the lunch expenses for everyone in our company. You'll settle the bill with me and me alone. I closed my laptop and looked at Huang Yang, who was standing there completely dumbfounded. So, Boss Huang, Are you going to take this deal, or what? Huang Yang took a deep breath, stood up, and gave me a deep, respectful bow. Supervisor Zhang, from this day forward, you are my savior. I'll write down everything you said in my notebook, and I promise to fulfill every single point. I'm taking this deal. His eyes were burning with ambition and hope. My allies are already in position. Sister Lin, your good days are officially over. The next day, inside Hengzhen Digital's main company chat, aside from the occasional announcement from the admin department, everyone usually just lurked in silence. But at exactly 10 in the morning, I posted in this massive group chat of over 300 people, sending out the very first unofficial message. Attention everyone, brothers and sisters. Lunch is on me today. We're ordering from Huangji Dumplings, the new spot right across the street. To celebrate their grand opening, they're offering us here at Hengzhen Digital some exclusive promotional combos. Hengzhen Digital's exclusive combos. Combo A, 15 signature pork and scallion dumplings with a side of secret recipe, smashed cucumbers, and a Coke or Sprite, all for just 18 yuan. Combo B, 15 classic pork and cabbage dumplings with refreshing shredded seaweed, plus a Coke or Sprite for 18 yuan. Combo C, juicy 3 delicacy dumplings, 15 pieces with chili oil, tofu skin, and a Coke or Sprite for only 20 yuan. Combo D, 15 tri-flavored dumplings with cold black fungus salad, and a Coke or Sprite for 18 yuan. Note: for anyone dining in, you'll get a free bowl of dumpling soup with unlimited scallions and cilantro to add. If you want in, just add your name to the list below. The deadline is 11 o'clock. Today's meal is my treat. In the future, the company might even consider making them one of our regular lunch providers. As soon as the message was sent, the chat instantly exploded. Brother Zhang, you're so generous. You're the best, Brother Zhang. We're having dumplings today. A brand new spot. It looks way cleaner than Lin's place across the street. Finally, we don't have to look at the sour face of Lin's boss, lady. I'm the first to sign up. Combo A+1, Combo C+2, an extra chili for Combo A. The messages kept popping up, one after another. The sign-up numbers on the list were climbing fast right before my eyes. I stared at the screen, totally blank-faced. My coworkers' crazy enthusiasm, partly because of the free lunch, but mostly, it was their years of built-up frustration with the boss lady across the street, finally finding its perfect outlet at this very moment. At 11 o'clock, I tallied up the sign-ups. 289 people. Almost every single person in the office joined in. Boss Huang, the orders are ready. Once the list was finalized, I sent the message to Huang Yang. Meanwhile, in Lin's dumpling shop across the street, Madame Lin was getting things ready as usual, starting her prep work around 11. Huge trays of freshly wrapped dumplings sat in neat rows on the prep table, while 2 giant pots of water bubbled and boiled. She wiped her hands and glanced up at the clock on the wall. 11:45. Normally by now, the people from Hengzhen Digital across the street should have started trickling down for lunch, but today, it was eerily quiet. That's weird. Did those office workers all switch to eating grass today? She muttered to herself, not thinking much of it. Another 10 minutes passed. 12 o'clock, and still not a single soul. Madame Lin started sensing something was off. She walked to the door, poking her head out to look toward the entrance of the office building. What she saw left her completely frozen. Coming straight out of the doors of Hengzhen Digital was a massive, swarming crowd. Over 300 people in business wear poured out like a tidal wave, instantly packing the entire sidewalk. They were laughing and chatting, with a clear destination. Heading straight toward the new shop, Huang's Dumplings. There stood Huang Yang, along with his 2 new hires, already holding up a bright red grand opening banner. Warmest congratulations on the grand opening of Huang's Dumplings. A warm welcome to the elite team from Hengzhen Digital. Huang Yang, holding a megaphone, shouts out with a flushed, glowing face, "Friends from Tencent Digital, right this way. If you're dining in, please head inside. For takeout, please line up at the door to pick up your food." Some of the crowd of over 300 people surge into Huang's shop, instantly packing the small, but spotless dining area to the absolute brim. Even more people are lining up outside in a massive queue, waiting to pick up their pre-ordered lunches. The scale of it is absolutely massive. Every single face is glowing with excitement. Anyone passing by would think it was a fan meet and greet for some superstar. Meanwhile, Sister Lin just stands there at her own, completely empty storefront, staring blankly across the street at the incredibly lively, bustling scene. Her mind is a complete blank. She just doesn't understand. Why the very people who were eating dumplings in her shop just yesterday have all run over to the other side today. Then, she spots me in the crowd. I am not waiting in line, nor have I gone inside. I'm just standing by the roadside, arms crossed, quietly watching everything unfold. Then, I look up, gazing past the endless stream of passing cars to look right at her. Our eyes lock. I offer her a faint, subtle smile. But it's a smile completely devoid of warmth. Sister Lin's entire body shudders violently. It's as if, in an instant, everything clicks. The color drains from her face, turning her pale as a ghost. Her lips tremble, but she can't squeeze out a single word. She can only watch helplessly as the faces she knows so well, and once looked down on so utterly, happily eat dumplings in the shop across the street, sipping their drinks, their laughter ringing out endlessly. Meanwhile, her own shop stands desolate, like an abandoned island left all alone. The water in the pot is still bubbling away. Right now, that sound is incredibly grating. It's as if it's mocking his own stupidity and arrogance. A gust of wind blows by, and the old sign at the entrance of Lin's Dumplings, which has been hanging there for 3 years, creaks and groans in the wind. It looks like it could fall at any second. Meanwhile, the opening day for Huang's Dumplings is a massive success. They sold 289 combo meals, not to mention all the walk-ins. Huang Yang and his 2 employees were running ragged from 12 to 2 in the afternoon, hardly having a moment to catch their breath. Once they finally wave goodbye to the last customer, Huang Yang just collapses into a chair. He's absolutely exhausted, but his heart is racing with pure excitement. He pops open the cash register and stares at the long string of numbers, so thrilled his hands are actually shaking. Then, he sends me a digital red envelope of 888.8 to 8 yuan. The attached message reads, "Brother Zhang, words cannot express my gratitude. This is just a small token of my appreciation. I don't accept the money, but send him a quick reply. Use this money to treat yourself and your staff to something nice. Tomorrow is when the real challenge starts." Huang Yang replies within seconds. "Understood." When we get back to work at the office that afternoon, everyone is talking about the dumplings from lunch. Huang's dumplings are seriously amazing. The skin is so thin, and they are packed with filling. So much better than Lin's, right? Even the ones with cucumber are so flavorful. And the best part is, the owner and the staff are incredibly nice. Even their takeout boxes look way more premium than Lin's. And they don't leak or burn your hands. Brother Zhang really did us a huge favor by finding this place. Listening to all the chatter, I remain non-committal. If we want to completely secure these 300 customers, what we need is consistent, high-quality food, and an opponent who is foolish enough. And Sister Lin, clearly, isn't going to disappoint me. Across the street, Lin's Dumplings is a total disaster. The hundreds of dumplings they prepared for lunch, not a single one was sold. Left in the stifling heat of the kitchen, the ingredients had already begun to turn slightly sour. Sister Lin's husband, Old Wu, a simple, honest, middle-aged man, was squatting on the floor, cleaning up with a heavy sigh. "Seriously, why did you have to do that? Offending such a big client just over some green onions?" Sister Lin was sitting in a chair, fuming in silence. But the moment she heard that, her anger instantly boiled over. Me? Offending him? He was the one looking for a fight, demanding extra green onions in his dumplings. Who on earth does that? So what if he's a company executive? Is he a big deal? Taking 300 people to the shop across the street. He's just trying to show me who's boss. I, Lin Gilan, have been in business for so many years. There is absolutely nothing I haven't seen. Like I'm going to be scared of some young punk. She sounded tough, but looking at the dismal state of the shop, she was secretly panicking. Old Wu asked, "So, what do we do now? We didn't bring in a single penny today. If the folks from Hengshan Digital keep avoiding our shop, how are we going to keep running this place? What are you panicking for?" Sister Lin slammed her hand on the table. "It's their loss if they don't come. I don't believe for a second that the new shop across the street is so good it's out of this world. They're just going there for the novelty. Tomorrow, I'm slashing our prices. If they charge 18, I'll charge 15. If they charge 15, I'll charge 12. And I'll throw in free drinks and side dishes. I simply don't believe that these bargain-hunting office workers would pass up a chance to save money." In Sister Lin's eyes, there was a stubborn flash of determination. She believed that as long as the prices were low enough, she could definitely win the customers back. Sure enough, the next day, outside Lin's Dumpling shop, an eye-catching discount sign was put up. 3-year anniversary celebration. All dumplings are only 12 yuan plus a free bottle of Bibinyang soda. At this price, they were practically selling at cost. Finally, Lin's Dumpling shop started to see some customers again. Looking at the shop, which was now nearly half full, a smug smile spread across Sister Lin's face. Thinking her little strategy had worked, she threw a smug, provocative glance across the street toward Huangji. But the crowd at Huangji's entrance was still packed. The employees of Hengshan Digital were like a massive tide, flooding over there right on schedule. Absolutely, nobody was going to change their mind, just because she knocked 3 yuan off her prices. Why? Sister Lin couldn't wrap her head around it. What she didn't know was that early this morning, a small note had been pinned to our lunch ordering thread. It was a friendly reminder that read, Huangji's kitchen now has live security cameras installed. All employees can visit the kitchen anytime using their work badges. We guarantee that every single meal we serve is completely clean and hygienic. This was the very last request I made to Huang Yang last night. Without a second thought, Huang Yang worked through the night to get it all set up. For office workers who spend their days in high-rises and survive on takeout, price and taste aren't actually the most important things. Peace of mind is. I didn't get dragged into a price war with Sister Lin, because I knew once you get stuck in that mud, everyone loses in the end. Instead, I chose a deeper, more devastating blow. While she was still stuck on the first level, obsessing over prices, I had already taken my colleagues straight to the third level, focusing on quality and experience. How could she possibly compete with that? At lunchtime, I purposely chose not to order takeout. Instead, I headed over to Huangji with a few of our department directors to Dina Inn. We sat right by the window, where we had a perfect view of Sister Lin across the street, her face completely twisted with jealousy and confusion. One of the directors laughed and said, Kunming, that was an incredibly brilliant move. Without firing a single shot, you've completely taken the wind out of her sails. I just smiled and picked up a dumpling with my chopsticks. I thought to myself, I've never been someone who fights just to win, but I refuse to let my colleagues and myself suffer any more unfair treatment. I softly said to Mr. Chen, I just believe our employees deserve better service and to be treated with actual dignity. Over at Sister Lin's shop, the crowd slowly started to thin out. Her $12 dumplings came with a free bottle of Bibinyang soda, which ran out in no time. When a customer asked for another bottle, she snapped at him, flat out refusing. For $12, you want 2 bottles? Dream on. The customers' faces instantly soured. They paid, shook their heads, and walked out. Watching this unfold, I shook my head in disappointment. A leopard really can't change its spots. Sister Lin, you still don't get it, do you? You didn't lose because of your prices. You lost because you don't show your customers basic respect and service. The price cut strategy was an absolute failure. Not only did Sister Lin's business fail to recover, but her constant snapping at walk-in customers drove away what little clientele she had left. Soon, her shop was completely deserted once again. Meanwhile, across the street at Huangji, business was absolutely booming. Fang Yang followed my instructions to the letter. He didn't just ensure high-quality ingredients and fast service, he kept finding creative ways to spice things up. Every week, he introduced 2 brand new dumpling fillings, from tomato and egg to mushroom and shrimp and corn with pork. Every single one was a massive hit with my colleagues. He also paid close attention to the side dishes and drink pairings, actively listening to the staff's feedback to constantly fine-tune the menu. The employees of Hangshan Digital had completely embraced Huangji, treating it like their very own private cafeteria. Some even loved it so much that after finishing their night shifts, they would pack a bag of frozen dumplings to cook at home. In just a few short days, Huang Yang's little shop already had a loyal band of regular customers. Sister Lin saw all of this happening, and it was eating her alive inside. She was like a trapped beast in a cage, pacing back and forth all day in a restless panic, her heart completely consumed by bitter resentment. Finally, completely blinded by jealousy, she came up with a downright dirty, underhanded trick. Because the food at Huang Yang's shop tasted so amazing, and the service was so welcoming, it didn't just attract the employees from our company, it also drew in tons of local residents and young people out shopping. Every single lunchtime, the place was packed to the rafters. Right when the shop was at its busiest, 2 men in uniform, wearing stern expressions, pushed the door open and walked right in. Who's the boss here? We're from the Food Safety Administration. One of them, a tall man, flashed his badge, his voice cold as ice. We received a tip-off from a member of the public. They claim your sanitation levels aren't up to code and that you're using expired ingredients. We need to conduct a surprise inspection right now. Every single customer froze, chopsticks suspended in midair. All eyes turned to the 2 men in utter shock. The entire shop fell dead silent. Huang Yang's heart skipped a beat. He knew instantly that someone was pulling strings behind his back, but he quickly composed himself. Forcing a warm, gentle smile onto his face, he hurried over to greet them. Hello, gentlemen. Welcome, welcome. We appreciate you coming by to inspect and guide our work. Since we're a brand new shop, there might be a few things we haven't quite perfected yet. So please, let us know how we can improve. Your feedback is incredibly valuable. His tone was perfectly balanced, neither begging nor defensive, but completely calm and respectful. Save the small talk, just take us to the kitchen. The tall officer replied with nothing but cold, robotic professionalism. Nodding with a polite smile, he said, right this way, please. Huang Yang calmly led the 2 men into the kitchen. Inside the kitchen, Two assistants were busy wrapping dumplings side by side. Though they were busy, everything was in perfect order. The floor was dry and spotless, without a single speck of grease. All of the ingredients were neatly categorized and stored in the fridge. Each container was clearly labeled with its purchase date, and even the trash cans had sorted recycling liners, ready to be cleared out at any moment. The two men snooped around, checking every corner of the kitchen. They ran their fingers over the stove, completely spotless. When they opened the fridge, a blast of cold air rushed out, without even a hint of an unpleasant odor. They went so far as to pull out professional testing equipment, taking samples of the minced meat right off the cutting board. A few minutes later, the results were in. Every single test passed with flying colors. In fact, the results were better than those of restaurants that had been open for over 10 years. The tall man's face grew tense with embarrassment. Clearing his throat, he muttered, "Well, your kitchen's hygiene is indeed up to standard. But what about your health certificates? Does everyone working here have their permits?" "Oh, absolutely. We have everything right here." Huang Yang hurried into the office and brought out a folder. Inside, neatly organized, were copies of the health certificates for himself and all of his staff, along with the restaurant's business license and the sanitary permits. Everything was in order, without a single thing missing. The two men flipped through the documents over and over, desperately looking for a loophole, but they couldn't find a single mistake. In the end, they could only pack up their things in frustration. We'll record these inspection results. Keep up the good work." With that, they turned around and prepared to leave. Right at that moment, Huang Yang calmly stopped the two officials. "Please, wait a moment." He pointed toward the kitchen door. Specifically at that live streaming security camera he'd specially installed. He spoke with absolute calm. "From the very first day we opened our doors, our kitchen has been on a live, 24-hour broadcast. The entire inspection you two just conducted was witnessed by every single customer in this restaurant, and our viewers online saw it crystal clear, too." Huang Yang pulled out his phone and opened the live streaming app. On the screen, inside the stream titled, "Exploring the Kitchen of Huang's Dumplings," there were hundreds of active viewers watching live. The live chat was flooded with praise. "This owner is so honest. Their kitchen is cleaner than my own home. Such an honest business. I'm only eating at Huang's from now on. I stand with Huang's. Boycott malicious reports." Seeing this scene, the two inspectors turned incredibly pale. They realized instantly that they had been used as someone else's weapon, and had ended up giving Huang's Dumplings a free, authoritative stamp of approval. Huang Yang chuckled softly. Though his voice wasn't loud, it echoed clearly across the entire restaurant. "I don't mean any harm by this. I just wanted to show that an honest man fears no shadows. And I'd also like to ask you two gentlemen to pass along a message to our deeply concerned citizen who filed this report. Tell them to bring on whatever cheap tricks they have. But if they've run out of tricks, maybe they should focus on actually making their own dumplings taste good, instead of constantly looking for dirty ways to cut down the competition." Having said that, he gave the two officials another deep bow. "Thank you both for your hard work today. And thank you for giving Huang's Dumplings our most official and unbiased quality inspection yet. To celebrate, everyone dining here today gets 20% off. Consider it a celebration of Huang's passing the ultimate test." Instantly, the restaurant erupted into thunderous applause and cheers. Amid the mocking laughter, the two health inspectors slunk away in disgrace. Every single bit of this was watched closely by Auntie Lin across the street, who was pretending to wash her windows. She gripped her rags so hard that her knuckles turned stark white. She never in a million years imagined that all her scheming would end up handing them the ultimate assist. Not only did she fail to ruin Huang's Dumplings, but she actually gave their reputation a stamp of official approval, making them an overnight sensation in the neighborhood. She lost. She was completely, utterly defeated, absolutely crushed. That failed health inspection report was the final straw that broke Auntie Lin. She snapped completely, turning from a bitter, short-tempered woman into a rabid madwoman who lashed out at everyone. If a customer asked for just one extra clove of garlic or a splash more vinegar, she would scream bloody murder, throwing her self-respect as a business owner out the window. She stopped caring about her business altogether. Her only joy now was standing on her doorstep every day, hurling the most vicious, foulest insults imaginable at the staff of Huang's Dumplings and Hengxing Digital. Passersby would point and whisper, giving her shop a wide berth. Her husband, Old Wu, couldn't bear her madness any longer. After a massive blow-up, he packed his bags and went back to his hometown, leaving Auntie Lin all alone with her bitter resentment to rot in her empty dumpling shop. Every day at lunchtime, when we went over to Huang's for food, we had to endure her screeching curses. She'd even call us out by name, shouting filthy insults. A few of our younger colleagues got fed up and wanted to go over and confront her, but I quietly held them back. I calmly thought to myself, What's the point of arguing with someone who's completely lost her mind? It would only drag us down to her level. The nastier her insults get, the more it proves we're doing the right thing, and the more it eats away at her. It just shows how completely she's lost. I told Huang Yang to crank up the shop's music as loud as it would go, completely drowning out her screaming. Meanwhile, we just kept eating our dumplings like normal, chatting and laughing. That kind of quiet indifference was far more satisfying than any shouting match could ever be. A week later, Sister Lin realized her screaming was completely useless. Instead, she had just turned herself into the laughingstock of the whole street. So, she turned all of her bitter rage right at me. She secretly dug around to find my license plate number. Then, early one morning, when I went down to the garage to get my car, I found my little white car covered in red spray paint. She'd spray painted nasty insults all over it, and all 4 tires were slashed with something sharp. Looking at my completely ruined car, I didn't even get angry. I just found it absolutely pathetic. I called the police right then and there, and notified the building management. The garage's security cameras had captured Sister Lin perfectly, catching every single second of her trashing my car. Faced with ironclad evidence, Sister Lin couldn't deny it and had to confess. Yet, she was still incredibly smug, showing absolutely no regret. In the end, for intentionally destroying someone else's property, she was sentenced to 15 days in detention and was ordered to pay for all the repair costs. Word quickly got out at my company, causing quite a stir. My coworkers were all incredibly sympathetic and stood by me. Our company's legal department even offered to help me sue her for emotional distress damages, but I gently shook my head and declined. For someone like Sister Lin, losing her dignity and having her reputation ruined hurts far more than paying any amount of money. On the day the police came to take Sister Lin away, a huge crowd of onlookers gathered to watch the drama unfold. She was in handcuffs, with her hair a messy, disheveled bird's nest. Her eyes were completely hollow and lifeless, with none of her old arrogance left. I didn't go join the crowd to gawk. I just asked a coworker to snap a quick photo for me. In the picture, the metal shutter of Lin's dumpling shop was pulled tightly shut. A police seal was pasted right across the door, looking incredibly cold and desolate. I set that photo as my phone's lock screen, to constantly remind myself, never push around gentle, good-tempered people. When a kind soul finally snaps, their wrath is the most powerful force of all. After Sister Lin was detained, Lin's dumpling shop shut down for good. This dumpling war, which dragged on for nearly a month, finally ended in a landslide victory for me. A lot of my coworkers started half-jokingly calling me God, Zhang, but I just laughed it off. Deep down, I knew I wasn't any kind of god. I was just an ordinary office worker who knew how to use the rules to protect myself and look out for our collective interests. The real winner in all of this was Huang Yang. Boosted by the official stamp of approval and rave reviews, Huang's dumpling shop became a massive hit in the area. Workers from other nearby office buildings started flocking to the shop just to get a taste. Huang Yang seized the opportunity to buy out the convenience store next door to expand his restaurant and hired some extra help. Even then, every single table was packed during the lunch rush. A month later, I paid Huang Yang the entire meal bill of over 300,000 yuan in one lump sum. Overwhelmed with gratitude, he practically begged me to let him treat me to dinner, but I politely declined. I looked him in the eye and said, "You earned this money with your own hands, your honesty, and your hard work. I only gave you a stage to show what you can do. From here on out, your success is in your own hands." Right after that, I had our company's purchasing department sign a long-term catering contract with him. Now, our employees can just swipe their badges to get dumplings and enjoy a 12% discount. This is both a company perk for the employees and the final bit of help I can offer to Huang Yang. From now on, we're nothing more than business partners who work well together. When he sees me, he'll still call me Brother Zhang, and the kitchen staff will silently throw some extra green onions into my dumplings. But there won't be any more personal attachment between us. Everything is just the way it should be. I thought everything had finally settled down, until one day, I bumped into Sister Lin's husband in the underground parking garage. He looked so much older than before, with graying hair at his temples, and his back slightly hunched. When he saw me, he tried to turn away to avoid me, but I called out to him gently. Chatting with him, I found out he's now delivering bottled water nearby. After a long, heavy silence, he finally gathered his courage, and with red, watery eyes, he said to me, "Manager Zhang, Weilan knows she was wrong. Ever since she got out of the detention center, she's done nothing but sit there, staring blankly. We had to sell the shop at a loss of over 100,000 yuan. She asked me to say sorry to you." Seeing old Wu looking so defeated and pathetic, I didn't feel a single thing. I just gave him a cold, brief response. But then, she went as far as slitting her wrists to commit suicide. After being rushed to the hospital and resuscitated, she was diagnosed with a severe illness, suffering from severe depression with strong suicidal tendencies, Their family was on the verge of falling apart. That's when Lin Lei pulled out an envelope containing 100,000 yuan, saying it was all of his family's savings. He begged me to go to the hospital to see his mother and just tell her that I forgive her. The doctor said only I could help her move past this. He was about to get down on his knees as he spoke, so I quickly reached out to stop him. Looking at his anxious, exhausted face, my mind was in a complete mess. I hated Sister Lin's mean and insolent attitude, and I wanted her to pay the price she deserved, but I never wanted to drive her to absolute despair. This sudden weight of moral guilt left me feeling completely exhausted. I gently pushed the envelope back to him. I whispered, "Let me think about it." In the end, I still went to the hospital. It wasn't because of that 100,000 yuan, and it wasn't because I suddenly felt sorry for her. I just wanted to go, to personally bring the war I started to a final, proper end, and to give myself some closure. The hospital room reeked of strong disinfectant. Sister Lin was lying in the hospital bed. Her face was pale and hollow, and she was thin as a rail. In just one short month, she looked like she had aged 20 years. Her wrist was wrapped in thick layers of gauze. When she saw me walk in, a flicker of light sparked in her dull, cloudy eyes, only to instantly fade away. She silently turned her head toward the window. Lin Lei and old Wu tactfully backed out of the room, leaving the two of us alone. I quietly sat down on the chair next to her bed. Neither of us said a word. The silence in the room was deafening. Only the clock on the wall kept ticking, as if counting down the end of this absurd saga. I was the first to break the silence. "Why did you do it?" I was asking about her keying my car, screaming insults at me, and ultimately hurting herself. This whole string of absurd behavior. She remained silent for a long time. Finally, in an incredibly raspy, weak voice, she slowly spoke. I just couldn't accept it. I was bitter. I've run a dumpling shop for 20 years. I built it up from a tiny street stall to a real storefront. I paid for my son's college education, and even bought him an apartment in the city. I really thought I was somebody. Then that day, you came in asking for scallions. I just saw you as some young office worker, and thought, who the hell are you to tell me what to do? I just wanted to break you, and take you down a peg. I never thought you'd hit back so hard. You stole all my customers. Every single one of them. You destroyed decades of my hard work. Just like that. You made it so I can't even show my face to the neighbors. I hate you. I really, truly hate you. Tears slowly rolled down the corners of his eyes. Choking back tears, he whispered. But lying here like this, breathing in the stench of this disinfectant, I finally realized, I didn't lose to you. I lost to myself. I lost to this awful temper I've spent 20 years building up. I lost to my ridiculous, arrogant sense of superiority. The truth is, that day, you asked for those green onions. I had a mountain of them piled up in the back. I just didn't want to give you any. I wanted to make sure you knew who the boss was. Heh. And then you showed me, in the most brutal way possible, who was really in charge. Saying this, he suddenly let out a laugh, but it was a smile more painful than crying. I listened in silence. This was the first time I'd ever heard how he truly felt, and the first time I actually tried to see things from his perspective. It made sense. Someone who had crawled his way up from the very bottom, relying entirely on his own sweat and blood, just to build a slightly better life, is bound to have a lot of pride, but also a lot of fragility. He was used to hiding behind a tough exterior to protect himself, looking down on others, just to validate his own worth. My sudden success and retaliation acted like a mirror, exposing all his insecurities and ugly truths, and completely shattering his pride and dignity. In a way, his breakdown was inevitable. You should go now. But thank you for coming to see me. I'm sorry. Those were the words that came straight from his mouth, and it would be the last time. I looked at his worn, aged face, completely devoid of color. All the resentment I had built up in my heart for so long suddenly began to melt away. As the clouds cleared, I stood up and walked over to the door. I turned back and said to her, Sister Lin, once you're feeling better, if you still want to open up a dumpling shop, I'll introduce you to an old master chef. He'll teach you how to make truly delicious pork and scallion dumplings, free of charge. With that, I opened the door and walked out. Outside, Lin Lei and old Wu were standing there, looking at me anxiously. I spoke softly, She's going to be fine now. And I realized I was going to be fine too. In the end, Sister Lin never did reopen her dumpling shop. After she was discharged from the hospital, she and old Wu sold their city apartment and moved back to their old hometown in the countryside. I heard they started growing an orchard out there, living a quiet, peaceful life. Every now and then, old Wu would ask a relative heading into the city to sell fruit to bring me a box of their homegrown apples. They were always so big and sweet. Every single time, I'd transfer him the money based on the market price. He would refuse to take it, so I'd just use it to top up his phone credit instead. A strange, unspoken understanding formed between us. Neither of us ever brought up the past, yet in our own quiet way, we kept this delicate connection alive. Maybe, in the end, this was the best possible outcome. Meanwhile, Huangji dumplings took the entire city by storm. Huang Yang turned out to have quite the business mind. He registered the trademark and opened one branch after another, even securing venture capital funding. He was no longer the young kid, Xiao Huang, who needed my guidance, but the successful young entrepreneur everyone called Mr. Huang. Time and again, he tried to take the cost of that 1 month of meals we provided back at Hengshin Digital and offer it back to me as technology shares or gift equity. But I flatly refused him every single time. A person of principle might appreciate wealth, but only when it's earned honestly. That money wasn't mine to keep, and I wouldn't take a single penny of it. To this day, I remain the administrative manager at Hengshin Digital. For me, Zhang Kunming, life returned to the usual daily grind, just handling the endless, trivial matters of my department. But the way my colleagues looked at me now carried a newfound sense of genuine awe and respect, because everyone knew that while Brother Zhang was usually easygoing and loved a good laugh, and was always incredibly friendly, if anyone dared to cross his line, his retaliation would strike like a devastating lightning storm, leaving them with absolutely no room for regret. The new interns at the company would always be pulled aside and quietly warned by the senior staff. You can piss off the boss if you want, but whatever you do, never cross Brother Zhang. And because of this, I earned the nickname the Thanos of Hengshin Digital. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry, but I knew deep down that this was my new way of surviving in this company, acting as my personal protective shield. 1 year later, thanks to my exceptional organizational skills and my unmatched reputation among the staff, I received an exceptional promotion to administrative director. My salary doubled, and my authority grew significantly. The very first thing I did was push the company to establish a comprehensive employee care and feedback system. From major perks like meals, shuttle buses, and benefits to minor details like office lighting and toilet paper in the restrooms, if any employee had even the slightest complaint, they could submit it anonymously, directly to my desk, with a guarantee that within 24 hours, it would be addressed and resolved. I wanted every single employee at Hengshin Digital to be able to work happily here and live with dignity. Never again would anyone have to feel humiliated and offended over something as trivial as a green onion. In my own quiet way, I had changed my little corner of the world, and it all started exactly 1 year ago with a plate of dumplings that barely had any green onions on them. Life is funny like that sometimes. The smallest, most trivial thing can completely change the course of so many lives. Today was just another ordinary afternoon. I was sitting by the spotless window at Huangji Dumplings. In front of me was a plate of pork and scallion dumplings. They smelled absolutely amazing, rich and savory, cooked to absolute perfection. I ate slowly, taking my time, as I watched people passing by outside. Across the street, where Linji Dumplings used to be, there was now a brand new sign hanging up. It was now a 24-hour convenience store, brightly lit day and night, with people constantly walking in and out. It was as if that greasy, smoke-filled dumpling shop where people always argued had never even existed. Just then, my phone buzzed softly. It was a photo message. On my screen was a beautiful, lush, green orchard. Sister Lin and Old Wu stood side by side under the fruit trees. Their skin was tanned dark from the sun, but the smiles on their faces were brighter and more content than anything I had ever seen before. In Sister Lin's hands, she was holding a big, bright red apple. Below the photo was a message. Director Zhang, my parents said when the fruit is ripe in autumn, they'd love to invite you to come visit us. I looked at the photo and smiled softly. I replied with 2 simple words. Sounds good. I locked my phone, looked up, and saw Huang Yang walking out of his director's office. He was wearing a sharp, well-tailored suit, looking incredibly confident and full of energy, as he spoke to a few people who looked like investors, sharing his vision for a dumpling empire. He caught my eye and gave me a warm smile and a nod. I nodded back with a gentle smile. We were both living our lives, moving forward in our own lanes, in your own way, to earn the respect you truly deserve. And suddenly, I couldn't help but ask myself, did this dumpling war actually have a winner and a loser? Maybe not. Sister Lin lost her shop, but in return, she found her inner peace. Huang Yang won his business empire, but now he shoulders a much heavier burden. As for me, what I gained wasn't a director title, nor was it the fear and awe of my colleagues. I looked down, staring at the very last dumpling on my plate. Gently picking it up, I popped it into my mouth and chewed slowly. What I really got was a truth as simple as it gets. You can and absolutely should live the life you want. But first, you must believe that you deserve to be treated gently by this world. Because all that kindness boils down to just one word: respect. Respect for others, and ultimately, a promise to yourself. Outside, the afternoon sun spilled through the window, casting a warm glow over the clean wooden table and catching the edge of the glass right by my hand. It scattered tiny, shimmering beams of light across the room. After seeing off his investors, Huang Yang walked straight over to me. In his hand, he held a freshly printed proposal for their next store location. Still daydreaming about that pork and scallion filling, Brother Zhang? He pulled up a chair and sat down, his voice carrying the easy warmth of an old friend. There wasn't a trace left of the stiff, nervous kid who had just started his very first shop. I set down my chopsticks and wiped my mouth. I swear, your dumplings are still the absolute best. Perfect amount of scallion and a generous filling. It beats the old Lin's place by a mile. Hearing this, the smile on Huang Yang's face faded slightly, replaced by a look of quiet reflection. To be honest, Brother Zhang, I'll never forget it as long as I live. The day you walked into my half-finished, messy little shop and told me we had a lunch order for 300 people to talk about. Back then, I just quit my job at that big hotel and scraped together all my savings to open this place. Honestly, I was scared out of my mind. But you were the one who gave me a path forward. You walked that path yourself. I just pointed you in the right direction. I picked up my glass and took a sip. If you had cut corners back then, or just slacked off with a half-hearted attitude, no matter how many customers I sent your way, you wouldn't have been able to keep them. I know. I've always known that. Huang Yang pushed the location proposal over to me. Take a look. This is the location I've chosen for our 5th branch. It's right inside the industrial park in the high-tech zone. It's the exact same strategy you used back then. First, build a solid base of regular customers from the office buildings. I also want to stick to what you taught me, live streaming the entire kitchen, offering exclusive employee meal sets, and making sure our service is top-notch. I glanced over the proposal. The location was incredibly precise. You've got a sharp eye. The industrial park is packed with young, white-collar professionals. Just like the employees at Hengxing Digital back then, they aren't looking for cheap food. What they want is clean, safe meals, and a little dignity. By the way, have your employees had customers making small, custom requests lately? You know, things like asking for extra green onions or vinegar? Huang Yang immediately replied, "Of course they do. I've set a strict rule for all my staff. As long as it's a reasonable request, we accommodate it. No questions asked. Even if a customer wants 3 extra handfuls of green onions, we add them with a smile. Just a few days ago, there was a young girl who said she couldn't stand cilantro. So chef made her a brand new batch right then and there. And we didn't charge her a single penny extra." Exactly. That's how it should be. I nodded in approval. Running a business is just like being a good person. If you show people a little respect, they'll give it right back to you tenfold. That's how you earn the respect of truly talented people. Back then, Sister Lin just didn't get this simple truth, and that's why she completely ruined what could have been a winning hand. Just as we were talking, my phone rang. It was Xiaolin, an intern from our administration department. I picked up the call, asking calmly, "What's wrong?" On the other end of the line, Xiaolin's voice sounded like she was on the verge of tears, with faint shouting in the background. "Mr. Zhang, please come down to the first-floor lobby right now. Supervisor Wang from logistics is having a huge fight with the cleaning lady." He screamed at her until she burst into tears. My eyebrows furrowed, and I stood up immediately. "I'll be right there. Try to keep them apart for now, and comfort the cleaning lady." Hanging up the phone, I quickly said goodbye to Huang Yang. "Something came up at the office. I have to head back right away. I'll look over your site selection proposal later." "Go ahead, Brother Zhang. Important business comes first." Huang Yang stood up quickly. "Let me know if you need any help. Just say the word." I hurried out of Huang's dumplings, crossed the street, and rushed back to the Hengxing Digital building. A crowd had already gathered in the first-floor lobby. Auntie Li, the cleaning lady, was squatting in a corner, wiping away her tears. Her uniform was soaked with water stains. Wang Lei, the logistics supervisor, stood nearby, his face dark with anger, muttering under his breath, "So what if I scolded her a bit? She can't even clean a window properly. What's the point of even keeping her around?" The surrounding employees whispered among themselves, but no one dared to step in and stop him. I walked over, gently patted Auntie Li on the shoulder, and said, "Auntie Li, please stand up. Tell me what happened. I'll make sure you get justice." Auntie Li looked up, her wrinkled face stained with tears, which kept streaming down. "Mr. Zhang, I didn't mean to leave it dirty. Some kid spilled juice all over the lobby glass earlier. I've already wiped it 3 times, but the stain just won't come off." Then Supervisor Wang walked over and just started screaming at me, calling me lazy and completely useless. He even threatened to fire me. But I have a family. My husband is very sick, and we survive entirely on my little salary. I turned my head to glare at Wang Lei, my voice calm but dripping with authority. "Supervisor Wang, did you completely skip the company's training on employee welfare, or do you just choose to ignore it?" Seeing my intense aura, Wang Lei instantly lost half of his bravado but he still tried to defend himself. Mr. Zhang, she just didn't do her job properly. What's wrong with me saying a word or two? I'm the supervisor here. I have every right to manage her. You have the right to manage the work, but you do not have the right to humiliate our staff. I pointed directly at the employee care board on the wall. The rules are written there in black and white. No manager, under any circumstances, is allowed to insult or demean an employee's character or subject them to verbal abuse. Even if they make a mistake at work, your first step should be to understand why, and then work together to solve it. Auntie Lee is 58 years old. She's here cleaning the offices at 6 every single morning, no matter the weather. The cleanliness of this entire building is all thanks to her and the other cleaning staff working tirelessly, bit by bit. But you, sitting comfortably in your office, don't see any of their hard work. And just because of one dirty window, you scream at her in public? Do you call that management, or are you just a pathetic bully? Wang Lei's face flushed with deep embarrassment. I just got a little carried away. Being carried away is no excuse for treating people like garbage. I looked around at the rest of the staff and spoke in a clear, booming voice. Let me make this absolutely clear to everyone. At Hengshan Digital, no one is above anyone else. Whether it's our cleaning ladies, our security guards, our logistics team, or our management, or even the tech department, it's all the same. Every single one of you is an indispensable part of this company. If anyone ever dares to hurl abuse again, or look down on our frontline staff, I don't care how high or low your position is, you will face serious consequences, no exceptions. As my words faded, a wave of hushed cheers broke out around the room. I turned back to look at Auntie Lee. My voice softened. Auntie Lee, please don't be upset. What Supervisor Wang did just now was completely wrong. I'll make sure he apologizes to you. If you ever face any unfair treatment at work in the future, just call my direct office line. I'll pick up 24 hours a day. Seeing this, Wang Lei had no choice but to bite the bullet and bow to Auntie Lee. Auntie Lee, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have yelled at you. It was my fault. Oh, it's all right. It's all right. Mr. Zhang, as long as you don't fire me, that's all that matters. Rest assured, as long as you do your job well, the company will always treat you right. I helped Auntie Lee over to the break room to sit down and had Xiaolin pour her a cup of warm water before I finally turned to leave. Back in my executive director office on the 16th floor, Xiaolin followed me inside, looking at me with absolute admiration. Mr. Zhang, you were absolutely amazing back there. Supervisor Wang always bullies the frontline staff. Everyone's been furious, but too afraid to speak up. You're the only one who actually put him in his place. I sat down in my office chair, massaging my temples. I wasn't trying to put him in his place. I just don't want anyone else to ever go through the kind of humiliation I suffered at that dumpling shop years ago. Back then, I just wanted a little extra green onion, and I was publicly humiliated for it. That soul-crushing feeling of being treated like garbage. I never want anyone in this company to taste that bitterness again. Xiaolin nodded silently. Her eyes are filled with complete agreement as she looks at Mr. Zhang. I know exactly how that feels. When I first started, the senior staff used to bully me, too. They made me do all the grunt work, and kept calling me clumsy. Back then, I wanted to quit so badly. But then, you introduced the anonymous feedback system. Thinking I had nothing to lose, I decided to give it a shot and submitted a report. That very day, you called those senior employees in for a talk. Ever since then, no one has ever bullied me again. Everyone has to start somewhere, and everyone deserves to be treated with patience and respect. I look at Lin. Remember this. The workplace isn't a ruthless jungle where the strong prey on the weak. It's a platform where we help each other succeed. You respect others, and only then will they respect you. That's the most basic truth. By the way, you've been following up on the staff cafeteria improvements lately, right? How is that coming along? I've already gathered and organized everyone's feedback. Most of the staff feel there aren't enough vegetarian options in the cafeteria, and the overall selection is way too limited. Some also mentioned that the servers skimp on the portions by shaking the ladle, leaving them with barely any food. Lin hands me the feedback sheet. I was actually just about to ask you if we should have a word with the catering supplier. Of course we should, I say, taking the sheet from her. Scanning it closely, I add, contact the supplier right away. Tell them to come in for a meeting tomorrow. First, they must offer a wider variety of vegetarian dishes, updating them every week. Second, they need to rotate the soups daily to ensure good nutrition. Third, the servers must provide full, generous portions. No more skimping on our employees' meals. If this supplier can't deliver, we'll find someone else who can. Ensuring our staff is well fed is our absolute top priority. Understood, Mr. Zhang. I'll contact them right away. Filled with motivation, Lin turns and heads out. As I watch her youthful figure walk away, it really made me think back to when I first entered the workforce. Back then, I was just a clueless intern myself. Just to put food on the table, I swallowed my pride and put up with all kinds of abuse at that Linji dumpling shop until they finally crossed the line and pushed me too far. But now that I'm sitting in this position, the least I can do is protect the dignity of every ordinary person around me, so they never have to suffer in silence or swallow their pride again, and never have to face humiliation over the tiniest little things. Over the next few days, I poured all my energy into improving our employee welfare system, from upgrading the cafeteria to reorganizing the shuttle bus schedules, and from remodeling the workspace to boosting benefits for our frontline staff. I personally oversaw every single detail. Xiaolin was right there by my side, running around and helping out, and he learned a lot along the way. He was really starting to understand what mutual respect actually means. When the weekend rolled around, I decided to make a special trip, driving out to the countryside to visit Sister Lin and Old Wu. Following the address Lin Lei had sent me, I drove all the way to an orchard nestled at the foot of the mountain. The moment I stepped out of the car, the sweet scent of fresh fruit filled the air. Lush apple trees and pear trees covered the entire hillside, incredibly green and vibrant. You could already see tiny, green fruits starting to bud on the branches. Old Wu was walking through the trees, a spraying tank strapped to his back, while Sister Lin sat on a little wooden stool by the edge of the orchard, carefully preparing the fresh green vegetables in her hands. Having not seen her for 1 year, Sister Lin looked like a completely different person. Her hair was cut short, and she had a healthy, sun-kissed tan. The mean and hostile look she used to have was completely gone, replaced by a gentle sense of peace and calm. When she saw me, she froze in surprise for a second. Then, she quickly put down her vegetables and stood up, nervously rubbing her hands on her clothes, looking a bit flustered. "Director Zhang, what brings you all the way out here?" I walked over with a warm smile. "Sister Lin, I happen to be passing by this area, so I thought I'd drop in and see how you and Old Wu are doing. Your orchard looks absolutely beautiful. I can tell you've put a lot of hard work into it." Old Wu set down his spray bucket and hurried over. A warm, honest smile spread across his face. "Director Zhang, please, sit, have a seat. We've got some fresh-picked strawberries inside. Let me go grab some for you. No need to trouble yourself." "Brother Wu." I gently pulled Sister Lin down to sit with me on a small stool. "Are you and Sister Lin doing well out here in the countryside? It must be a lot more relaxing than running that dumpling shop in the city." Sister Lin let out a soft sigh, her eyes filled with a deep sense of relief. "Oh, it is so much easier," she said. "Running a shop in the city was so stressful, and I was constantly arguing with customers. My heart was always full of anger. But now, out here in the countryside, we work when the sun rises and rest when the sun sets. Watching the fruit trees grow day by day, it just brings such a deep sense of peace. I used to think that to do business, you had to be tough and aggressive, and that you couldn't let anyone walk all over you. I thought anyone who made a request was just trying to cause trouble. Only now do I realize I was just trapping myself in my own stubbornness. That day in the hospital, everything I said to you, it was all from the bottom of my heart." Sister Lin looked at me, her eyes filled with sincerity. "I ran that dumpling shop for 20 years, and as the years went by, my temper only grew worse, while my conscience shrank smaller and smaller. Just over a few green onions, I went and offended a loyal customer like you, and ended up losing my entire business. I hated you back then, but later, as I lay in that hospital bed, I finally understood. It wasn't you I hated. It was myself, that arrogant, rude, and completely disrespectful person I had become." I nodded gently. "Sister Lin, that's all in the past now. In this life, everyone makes mistakes, but being able to change and finding true peace of mind, that's worth more than anything. You're right. It's all in the past." Sister Lin picked up an apple beside her, wiped it off, and handed it to me. "We grew these apples ourselves," she said. "No pesticides at all. Give it a try. Once autumn comes and the harvest is ready, I'll have Lin Lei send a few boxes your way. Only the absolute best ones." I took the apple from her and took a big bite. Sweet, crisp juice instantly filled my mouth. "Wow, this is so sweet. It's way better than anything you can buy in the city. Oh, by the way," I asked, "do you still make those famous dumplings of yours?" Sister Lin smiled, her face full of warmth. "I do," she replied, "but now, I only make them for my family. Whenever my son and daughter-in-law come over on the weekends, I'll whip up some pork and scallion ones. I don't hold back on the scallions either. They smell absolutely amazing. I'm not stingy like I used to be, and I don't lose my temper with customers anymore. That's how dumplings are supposed to taste." I smiled and said, "Delicious dumplings are great, but a warm heart is even better." Old Wu chimed in from the side. "Director Zhang, Gilan is like a completely different person now. Whenever anyone from the village comes to pick fruit, she's incredibly welcoming and generous. She'll gladly throw in a few extra for free. With her old temper, who could have ever guessed she'd become this sweet?" Sister Lin rolled her eyes at Old Wu, but without any of her old sharpness. "Oh, Stop bringing up my embarrassing past, she chided. If it wasn't for Director Zhang, I'd probably still be in the city, trapped in my own bitter thoughts. But honestly, Director Zhang, I really need to thank you. Not just for forgiving me, but for helping me finally figure out what truly matters in life. There's no need to thank me. We're all just ordinary people, I replied. We're all just learning how to be decent human beings and live our lives the best we can. I looked out at the endless fruit trees covering the hills and then back to Sister Lin's peaceful, smiling face. The very last bit of resentment in my heart completely vanished. This whole mess, which had started over a simple plate of dumplings, finally came to a perfect, beautiful end right here in this orchard. After coming back from the countryside, I threw myself right back into my busy work. Huangyang's 5th branch opened right on schedule. I was invited to attend the grand opening. The place was absolutely packed. Aside from the employees from the industrial park, there were tons of customers who had come just to see what the hype was about. During the opening speech, Huangyang held the microphone, looked down at me in the crowd, and said with deep sincerity, "Today, I want to thank someone special. Without him, Huang's Dumplings wouldn't be where it is today. He taught me that doing business isn't just about how much money you make, but about keeping your conscience and maintaining respect." He's the administrative director of Hangshan Digital, Mr. Zhang Kunming. Thunderous applause erupted from the crowd. I stood up and waved to everyone. Once the ceremony was over, one of Huangyang's franchisees walked up to him and asked out of curiosity, "Mr. Huang, who exactly is this Director Zhang? You seem to respect him so much." Huangyang smiled warmly and began telling the franchisee about that plate of pork and scallion dumplings from all those years ago. He spoke of the humiliation they faced at Lin's dumpling shop and how 300 colleagues marched in to change restaurants to support them. He spoke about what respect truly means. Listening to this, the franchisee was deeply moved and couldn't help but sigh. Wow, I had no idea there was such a story behind this. I've really learned a valuable lesson today. To do good business, you have to be a good person first, respecting your customers and respecting your employees. That's the only way to truly go far. The nearby staff members also gathered around to listen. A young girl smiled and said, "Mr. Huang, we'll make sure to give our customers the absolute best service from now on. Even if they just ask for an extra pinch of green onions, we'll gladly give it to them with a smile." Huangyang replied, "That's exactly right." He patted her on the shoulder. "Just remember, we were wrapping dumplings, but what we really warmed was the human heart." As I left work this evening, I passed by that old Linji dumpling shop once again. It's a 24-hour convenience store now, brightly lit and glowing. The clerk inside was smiling, welcoming every single customer who walked through the door. The chimes at the entrance jingled softly, filling the air with warmth. I stood there on the sidewalk, just watching for a long time. 3 years ago, I was publicly humiliated right here. My heart was burning with anger and resentment. But 3 years later, everything here is completely different now, and the past is long gone. And I went from a quiet admin supervisor who just swallowed their pride to an administrative director who can actually stand up and protect the dignity of the people around me. It's not that I've grown heartless, it's just that I finally realized gentleness isn't weakness, and even kindness needs a backbone. True strength isn't about stepping on others, it's about having the power to protect your own dignity and the dignity of those around you. When I got home, I sat down at my desk, opened my notebook, and wrote this down. Life is just like a plate of dumplings. The dough wraps up all the tiny, messy details of life, while the filling holds the warmth and coldness of the world. Whether there are too many green onions or too few is just a minor detail, but whether your heart is open or narrow, now that is what truly matters. If you treat the world with respect, the world will answer you with gentleness. All conflicts will eventually fade into quiet, and all wrongs will eventually be made right. In the end, throughout our entire lives, all we really want is to live with a little dignity and to lay our heads down at night with a clear conscience. Finishing the entry, I closed the notebook and looked out the window at the thousands of glowing lights. Behind every single window, there's the story of an ordinary person, filled with the simple warmth of daily life, a few quiet grievances, and moments of tender comfort. And as for me, all I can really do is to stay true to who I've always been. Treat everyone with respect. Protect all the good things in life with tenderness. Just like right now. In the kitchen of Huang's Dumplings, the cooks are carefully wrapping dumplings, stuffing them with plenty of green onions. Out in a countryside orchard, Sister Lin and Old Wu are putting away their farming tools, getting ready to head home to cook. Over in a company lobby, Auntie Li, the cleaning lady, is meticulously wiping the glass, a peaceful smile on her face. The most beautiful sight in this world is simply a place where everyone is respected, where life is filled with warmth, and everyday moments feel simple and cozy, bringing peace and well-being year after year. And all of this starts with that very plate. of simple pork and green onion dumplings. It all starts with just one word: respect. For the rest of our days, may we all treat others with respect, face the world with kindness, and in this warm, bustling world, live as the version of ourselves we love the most.